Well, a few weeks ago, some of the presidential candidates were invited by the leaders of the North. They were invited to Kaduna State, where they presented their manifestos. Well, I will remind you of some of the things that were said at that event. It was the Arewa leaders meeting, where they basically consulted with the leaders of the North, and for the Northern leaders to make their choice on who perhaps they will go with in the 2023 presidential election. Before that meeting, I've had a conversation with one of the leaders of the North who said they will be inviting them, and that event happened. Today, let's do a review or appraiser of the presentation of these presidential candidates. I'm being joined by the spokesperson of the Northern Leaders Forum, Dr. Akim Baba Ahmed. He joins us live here in our Abuja studio. Thank you so much, Doc, for joining us tonight.
Thank you for inviting me.
Before that meeting, you told us right on this program that you were going to hold that meeting. It held amidst some controversy because the presidential candidate of NNPP did not attend, and he said there's some element within the organizers that he was not comfortable with, and he feels that there were untoward things that were happening. Now, give us an understanding. Has there been some kind of decision made by the Northern leaders on the way to go?
Well, thank you. We invited 6 candidates, 5 turned up. Exercise the privilege to address the nation, the North and the nation. And from their reactions, it was a great outing because you hardly get that kind of platform. Secondly, it was never intended to be a decision-making platform. It was meant to provide the candidates an opportunity to engage the North and Nigeria directly, to say what they intend to do about problems that are peculiar to the North, or general North and Nigeria, how they intended to do it, and then to get a feedback in terms of what represents for us, elders and leaders and other stakeholders in the North, what represents challenges that should be taken up by the next president. From our perspective, it was a tremendously successful exercise.
What came out to you predominantly from that engagement? Was there anything that was surprising that you saw from the presentation of the 5 who turned up?
Well, one, that they accepted to come at all.
Okay, that in the...
Absolutely. I mean, just think about...
Who was it that you thought that was not going to come?
Well, we thought everybody would come.
Okay.
To be honest, we expected everybody to come.
So it was not surprising that the 5 turned up?
No, but what is surprising about it is that in this day and age when there is a lot of divisiveness and suspicion, this is ours, this is not ours, a group from the North, 6 groups from the North, one part of the country, which has a major stake in terms of who becomes president, get together and say, why don't we call all at least the front runners here to Kaduna, of all places in the Sadona's house, Ariwa house, and put them through a process that says, tell us what you want we would do about the North. And they all came up. They all came except for Kwankwaso. All the 5 of them came. This is, and let me remind you, it was something that you already know. This is a intensely politicized environment. People suspect everything. I was listening to a program with Professor Kingsley Moghalu, and some of the issues that you raised there are pertinent to this. There's very little faith in in all processes. There's very little trust, which is why President Buhari is going to find it very difficult to manage this transition and reprinting or the designing of currency. But politicians are even more sensitive to this. So imagine what it means for a group of 6 northern groups to say 4 southern candidates from the south, 4, and 2 from the north. Why don't you come over and tell northerners what you will do for them?
Did they satisfy the questions were targeted, in some way to how the interest of the North is going to be covered? Who perhaps did a better job from the positions of the leaders of the North on this?
Well, I should let you know, before they came, we had sent them 10 basic issues in forms of questions or positions. What would you do about this? Our insecurity, our poverty levels, our education, the kind of things that we believe represent the core concerns of the North, and the kind of things that we would like any president to prioritize. Now, and all of them, in one way or the other, address those issues, as well as other issues. And for me, I would say that all of them considered the issues that we raised very seriously, and they gave it a tremendous amount of attention.
But there was one comment. Let me remind our viewers about what Bola Tinubu said. Then I will bring to the fore what Atiku Abubakar said. What Bola Tinubu said at that event, it was making reference to Atiku Abubakar. Take a listen to what Bola Tinubu said. All right, we'll bring that soundbite to you just in a moment. I was going to, there was what Atiku Abubakar said that became a very controversial statement. And when Bola Tinubu appeared, he made reference to him and said, look, in fact, his major contender in the race is not supposed to be but I'll let our viewers listen for themselves what he meant. But coming out of that engagement, what do you think that the race portend? Do you think that Nigerians are being presented by the best that are available?
I'm afraid that question is a little bit mute now. What is available is the candidates. That's the truth. We have 18 Nigerians, 18, who are being put up by their parties. And we have to choose one of them. One way or the other, we have to choose one of them. So, do these 18 represent the best of Nigerians that are available? I don't think so, but we have a democratic process that is broken. You have to understand this. Substantially, the candidates that are running are people who have literally bought their ways into becoming candidates. Whether we like it or not, that's a fact. They had spent anywhere between hundreds of millions to hundreds of billions. Does the amount of money you have determine your quality of leadership? Or does it simply say if you have money, you can become a candidate of the presidency? Should we worry? Shouldn't we worry?
So money is going to play a major role in this election?
It has played a major role. And
would it play a major role in this election?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It will play an even bigger role in the elections.
Is there anything we can do to stop that?
Yes. What we did in Kaduna can be sustained in different ways. You can actually peel away the money as much as it is possible to do, and try and see if you can present to Nigerians more or less a clearer picture of the candidates. This is who this represents. This is what he represents. This is what they look like. This is what their thinking process is. And perhaps other issues like, are they really thinking through some of the issues? Like, ask them, like we did in Kaduna, why do you want to be president? Certainly, why do you want to be president after President Buhari, when the country is literally on its knees? Tell us. Is it to fulfill a personal ambition? Or you just have the money and you just think, oh, it would be great to be president of Nigeria? Or because in spite of this huge amount of money that you have, or you can get from other sources, you believe that you have to rescue Nigeria. And if you want to do that, how do you intend to do that?
All right. That's this point I would like to, let me show our viewers this soundbite, one of those that came out of that, and perhaps I may even play one more for you before the close of the program. Take a listen. This is Bola Tinubu at the Kaduna consultation with the northern leaders.
Right back today, met me with Yara. I was one of the youngest, brilliant strategists of late Shehu Yadra. He was just out of custom that time. Ask him to go and read the civil service regulation. They asked him questions. How did you make money? He said, from selling cars. Can you, as a civil servant, involved in other trade and businesses?
No.
All right, then. You heard Bola Tinubu that that's one of his position. And perhaps one of the other part, if we're able to get Atiku Abubakar out, and perhaps Peter Obi, is the personalities of some of these people. In the minds of Nigerians, would they play a major factor in the choice of who becomes Nigeria's next president?
Well, I hope so. They should. When it becomes impossible to distinguish in terms of, these are all hugely experienced people. They've held positions. Atiku Abubakar was vice president. In addition to everything else, Bola Tinubu has been governor for 8 years, and he has managed other governors. Peter Obi had been governor for 8 years. Kwankwaso was governor for 8 years. These are hugely experienced people in terms of managing people. These are also people with enough money at least to get to a point where they are now candidates. So their personalities should be scrutinized. Absolutely.
They're already scrutinizing themselves.
Yes, well, it's the business of it. It was, I have to tell you the truth, it was interesting watching them throw banters at each other. But that's not what we were there for. Ours was a very serious business, but politicians will always do this. What we did was simply to focus their attention on issues, and then to put them before cameras and say to Nigerians, look at them and look at what they say, look at what they promise. And make a judgment.
Let me allow you to listen to Peter Obi for a moment.
The government we intend to form, I and that team, without team, we do things differently. We want to bring a transformative government, purposeful government that will start dealing with the issues. And those issues are known and very clear. The issue of security, which will be decisive. The issues of unity, which will be decisive. The issues of our economy, because it is critical. If you go today, out of the 10 poorest states in Nigeria, 10 is in the north. Out of school children, it is in the north that you have the highest out of school children in the global earth. I'm telling you, all this is what the elites used to confuse us, to keep us where we are. Next year, the election must be based on character we can trust. What we are selling now is listening to all of us. All of us are going to have a well-written manifesto, a well-written document we'll read out, a well-written this. But what we are selling now is, who among us will you trust? It is a trust issue.
All right, then you heard Peter Obi. Well,
he was referring, I think, one of those questions, this is very interesting, one of those questions that and now this bit, I think, refers to the point where Peter Obi was trying to answer one question that we sent to all of them. Why should the North trust you? Why do you think you're the best candidate? Now, all of them, they had 30 minutes first.
Then the question and answer.
No, yeah.
After the presentation.
They had 10 questions in advance, which they had 2 weeks to study, set up teams to prepare responses. And then we had asked them questions. Now, one of the questions we sent to them in advance was, tell us why we should trust you. Why should the North trust you? Not because you are not because you are unworthy, but why is it? What is it that makes you, and not any of these 17 people, more deserving of our trust?
Right, let me allow you to listen to Atiku Abubakar, and I'll get your summary of, because Nigerians want to know what the northern leaders have agreed upon and what they should inform their decision at the polls. Take a listen to Atiku Abubakar of the PDP.
As we go to the polls in February 2023, There can be no better opportunity for the public to interrogate our ideas and strategies to deal with a plethora of local and national issues, from the mundane to the most complex, particularly those issues that have important weight on the future of northern Nigeria. I hereby present myself for that interrogation. You can interrogate me today. However, I would like to caution that northern Nigeria's current social and economic challenges call for sober reflection. The partisan politicking, irrespective of our political differences, it should be our collective desire to see northern Nigeria fulfill our potentials in the not too distant future. I can't wait. So what is Atiku Abubakar's development agenda for Nigeria and northern Nigeria in particular?
As Atiku Abubakar there, those are the 3 out of the 5 that we can bring tonight. But to wrap up this conversation, there's a lot of, especially for the northern voters who listen to the northern leaders, what are those things that they need to be looking out for as they head to the polls 2023?
We're looking for greater specificity. If you listen to these 3 that you got, they are talking in general terms. Everybody would say you have to address the poverty of the North. Everybody would say you have to address insecurity. Everybody would say you have to look at how the North got to be where it is. What we're looking for is greater specificity. And when we had what we agreed after the engagements is that we're going to follow these candidates through their campaign trail. We're going to take their manifestos and go through them very meticulously. And we're going to follow them through campaigns.
So should Nigerians also.
So should Nigerians. And what is even more important, and I hope that other parts of the country will find a way of doing this. I doubt it. But if it can be replicated in other ways, it should be done. You need to press these candidates to be more specific in terms of what they want to do. Look, everybody is talking about security. And right now, right in front of me on your monitor, I can see that 5 Southeast governors are lamenting the state of insecurity in the Southeast. Why? Challenge these people to tell you, including Peter Obi, what do you plan to do about the Southeast? Whatever happens about Kanu, whatever you do, you're going to end up with a problem, major security problem in your hand. What would happen, for instance, if President Buhari's attempt to reprint the Naira ends up in a fiasco? And you end up in a situation where you neither address the fundamental fiscal and monetary issues. Right. So Nigerians need to press our candidates. We desperately need to find out who among these people should be trusted.
All right. Dr. Hakeem Baba Ahmed, the spokesperson of the Northern Elders Forum, thank you so much indeed for this feedback. And indeed, it looks so much like the Northern leaders have a say they would not vote for. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching, everyone. I'll see you again at 7 p.m. tomorrow. God bless Nigeria. Good night.